All right, everybody, welcome to the State of Human Design, Monday, August 16th, 2021. I'm here with Jen Cole, Joyful Projector, and I'm also here with Teresa, who has a YouTube podcast as well. Mike is off screen, and we have Ray Jill in the back. Where can people find your YouTube? What should they look up to find it, Teresa?
Oh, thank you for asking. Sorry, I was just trying to do an underlying plug.
Oh, do it.
Just my name on YouTube is Teresa Principe, but I have an Instagram account at Staria Girl.
How do I spell that? Is that
STARIAGIRL.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, let's start with a few questions from Human Design and Astrology, and then we're going to dig into the comment thread from Ra's encounter with the voice, which is a film that was made about his encounter. And the film Astrology Facebook group. Let's do it.
Okay. You can also find me on Instagram. So today I was following my intuition and landed back in Santa Fe. First going to
see what our viewers think of this.
Crystal Farm on
we can do that
Albuquerque. And then I'm heading to hopefully side up to this Monument Valley.
Astrology Facebook.
But anyways, I came back here because I was called to intuitively stop into a yoga studio called Body of Santa Fe, which I went to probably over 12 years ago before my daughter was born. And stepped in, and right away the owner recognized me. We knew right away before any conversation, so there was clarity there. And then I jumped into a class. The teacher, Abby, was amazing, from Boston, which is where I lived for 7 years. And there she was, showing up there, probably knowing some of the same yoga teachers that I know in my Primal Flow community. So I take the class, and then I'm talking to a woman who's at the desk, Sophia, who tells me, "Do you know your human design?" And I said, "Well, actually, I've gotten many messages to consider to fully look into this." She said, "You should contact Jonah Dempsey. He's out of Santa Fe, and it's DEMPCY. You can find him on YouTube at, what's your YouTube channel?
It's my name, Jonah Dempsey, spelled DEMPCY.
And Jonah is JONAH?
Yeah, spelled the usual.
Thank you. So here we are, we're doing a dual recording. I'm actually chilling at his place, and he's doing the show, and he has like, I don't know how many followers, so I'm like a little humbled to be in this presence.
I don't have a lot of.
And I just stumbled upon actually the first YouTube video that I went to was how to survive your first year of human design. Is that the one? So I just started listening there. So that's a great place to start. And then when you want to jump on over and listen more, you can find them. Anyways, sorry.
Well, we're going to be, so for the State of Human Design, this is something we try to do every week, but, it's usually just me and Mike. He's a big part of it, so when he feels like called to answer a question, we'll get him in here. He's watering the plants right now, but basically what we do is we field questions. Well, this is his place, we field questions, and we also just find questions. I made an actual list of questions, but I'm not seeing it, so I'm just kind of looking through. Okay, here's a good one. This is from Human Design Astrology. The question was raised: how has human design helped you address toxic feminine and or masculine conditioning? Any idea on the toxic feminine, toxic masculine? First of all, I've never heard the term toxic feminine. This is a woman asking. I've never heard of toxic feminine. I guess they mean like gender normative. Okay, maybe, there's a thing called homeovestism, which is hyper-normative gender norms. So, right, is that maybe toxic feminine? I understand a lot of the men's groups and so on that have kind of emerged out of Jungianism and so on to try to address and heal the wounds of toxic masculinity, but to typically do so, we were talking earlier about black hats doing light work, or white hats doing black work rather, people who have great intentions, and I see all these men's groups where they're all doing all this work on healing the toxic masculinity, but I have a friend who went to one, for instance, and they did like they went out to the forest and they like did really crazy endurance stuff and like slept in the forest together and cried and opened up about all their child sexual abuse and had all of their blah 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 blah. None of that is what human design is about. It has nothing to do with human design. In fact, even we can talk about trauma later if you want, but healing and trauma are very seven-centered vocabulary for what human design is about. Is alignment. It's aligning with what's correct for you. So people, I'm on the cross of healing, but that was Ra's joke, because healing, if you look at the healing world out there, it's a racket. It's all doctors. It's all, most of the people working to heal toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, although I've never seen a retreat to heal toxic femininity. I don't know about that. But most of the people, and there's
just a regular retreat.
Well, there's this thing, but the thing is, because I don't think that femininity is toxic in the same way. I think toxic masculinity causes what you might be calling toxic femininity as a side effect, but I think toxic masculinity is really the issue that you want to look at. But in that, at least in these systems where we've looked at patriarchy and so on, human design does significantly diverge from this 2,000-year culture. We could even trace back to the ancient Greeks of Western, patriarchal domination, simply because human design is form knowledge. It is as yin gets. And it's funny, there's a philosopher named Levi Bryant who said that, what's wrong with, there were some right-wing feminists who were saying that Sarah Palin was a great example of feminism. And
yes.
He even said she's not even performing even a normative femininity, she's performing masculinity for the crowd. And I thought that was very insightful. And I think that's an example of how toxic masculinity can seep into all these areas. But my point is almost that there can be people that are preaching very yang systems while giving the guise of so much of it is like the white hats doing black work, where people are trying so hard to help each other but they don't know how to help, so they're helping the only way they know, which is based on their own experience, and they're universalizing their personal experience, going, look, all you men out there just need to get in touch with your emotions, and that's what it is. Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe you're emotionally undefined and there's something else for you that's going to be really helpful. You can't just blanket statement.
Which would be an example of?
An emotionally undefined person, it's going to be more about confronting painful truths, which is a very different thing from getting in touch with your emotions. Getting in touch with your emotions is learning where you are on your emotional wave. If you're emotionally defined, for instance, Mike, he's emotionally defined, so he has such a process of learning about what it is. He has to relearn the same lesson 100 times, once at each level of the wave. He's really happy and he forgets everything from when he was sad and has to relearn at that happy place. Then he gets really sad. He goes from hope to pain. He goes from excitement to boredom. He goes
it's
from
like my coach
trust to betrayal.
The infinity symbol.
Yeah, and
so
this is how the
there are
emotional
different
wave
layers
moves.
of the infinity symbol.
Exactly, and that
Right.
emotional wave is going to
Same
be
experience.
continually moving, and we're all emotional beings. In some sense, we all live in an emotional world, but some of us are empathic, about half of us at an emotional level. Others are empathic in a different level. We don't usually use the word empathy. We usually limit the word empathy to only talk about emotions, but really you could say any openness in your chart is a place of empathy, potential empathy, or where you take in the other. And, all of this, I take in your emotions. Mike can be a very empathic person. Rachel can be a very empathic person. They're both emotionally defined, so their empathy is not going to look like ours, where we synchronize to your emotional level. If someone's feeling loss and grief, we go, hey, let's talk about it. If they're feeling elation and celebrating, we kind of feel that boost and get out, As undefined emotional beings, we're continually amplifying the ambient emotional energy that's all around us. But, a men's group with someone who's emotionally defined, they're going to preach something very different than the not self of the undefined, or whatever it's going to be. I guess my point is, what human design really tells us is that we are extremely differentiated beyond the 16 Myers-Briggs types, beyond, you want to talk about patriarchy, it all goes back to the 4 temperaments and this dominance of 4s going back to ancient Greece, and leaving behind the pre-patriarchal wisdom traditions that actually were based on 5s and were based on other numbers. Everything became this square 4. This gets back to really some early, or even one of Mike's favorite books, The Alphabet versus the Goddess. Very fundamental battle between Logos and Eros, which has gone back, millennia. But human design is very much, in some sense, what is metaphorically spoken of as a return to the goddess and so on. I think that there's a lot of versions of what it is to heal the toxic masculine and return to the sacred goddess and so on, like the Rianne Eisler Chalice and the Blade. There's versions and versions and versions of this, and again, with the white hats doing black work, so many people have good intentions and may actually be running men's groups and telling everyone this is your truth, but they're just trying to universalize their own personal truth. And what human design says is we're all our own authority. Each of us is our own authority.
Right.
We each discover our own personal truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's what's poison for one is
no one
medicine
can
for
tell
another.
you what your truth is. And so the moment
So
you do that,
personal.
you're an ego. And when you're an ego, you're not from your truth.
Exactly.
So it's
yeah,
irrelevant.
and this is spoken, and you're spoken as an ego person. I've always been jealous. You have defined ego. I've always been envious of the defined ego. It's rare. It's rare, and it has this natural ability to, I love it, really, to stand up for your own personal truth, too, which all of us should do. I mean, all of us have our ability to have our personal truth. And particularly, I mean, in human design, you look at Pluto, you also look at individual circuitry. Some of us are really here to be empowered in that. But, I just think about, going to a men's group that's led by a collective person on the experiential side. All you're getting is experiences. You're just getting experience after experience after experience. Human design is pretty founded in logic. I mean, we do fun experiential things, like our great conference that we just had was really fun and really experiential, but the majority of it is logical work. I mean, we're doing it almost like researchers experimenting and logic, and it's such a different thing. And you go to the men's groups, it's like, we're going to walk through coals. Well, yeah, what did you learn? Well, I learned what it felt like to walk through coals. Now, some people are going to break down crying. Some people, for the first time in their life, they're going to say, wow, I pushed a kid off the bridge when I was 10. I thought it was a joke, and he died. I never forgave myself, and this has changed my life because I've gone through this. That's all experiential. That's your personal life story. That's your personal past.
And it depends how much inner work you've done and how much therapy you've done around it to know how deep to go when you step on those coals, and if there's other meanings besides just the heat.
Some people are gonna go on a mountain for 10 years and come down completely transformed. I mean, experiences change us. And yet, the experiential, there's no end to experiences. Well, they absolutely do.
That, I think, is critical, right? Because if they're doing something towards it, then it's going to support their journey anyways, right? Because we also have to learn through failing.
Yeah, it's not worthless. I mean, experiences are always valuable. You get the experience of having had the experience of whatever that thing is, and it's always the other side of the practice. We were talking earlier about the 4816 and how it's all about practice. Well, you got to see what the other side is. It's just that what's funny is, it's so easy to get people to do experiences. Like, you can do a human design experience and say, we're going to go whitewater rafting and do human design. You would get so many people who want to do that. We're going to go inner tubing down the Rio Chama.
Because they just want to play.
They just want to come to that's fine. That is fine. And that can still change people. People do get that. It's just not reliable. There's nothing reliable about experience. The only thing that's really trustworthy and reliable is logic. And it's funny because logic is also hampered. I mean, everything is hampered in a unique way. That's one of the beautiful things about human design is when you look at, you realize that everybody's saying this is the answer, and it's because their own damn circuitry makes that free for them, and it's really expensive for everyone else to do that thing that they just do 24/7, 365 for free. So they're walking around with their defined ego going, you can do it, you can do it. They're walking out of their defined solar plexus going, come on, have some, or you can have, it's not that bad, they're in a good state. They're like, what's so bad, don't you see, it's really not that bad. But it's because they're high on their wave. And someone else, it really is that bad. Because the world has places that really are that good and they really are that bad. And some people really do have that, ability to do the capacity to do that, and others don't. And it's a beautifully diverse world. But I guess that's what I think of when I personally think about my relationship to toxic masculinity. I immediately think of conditioning, and I immediately just think of deconditioning, and then I just think the more human design has taken hold of me, and the more I've studied the deep logic of it and experimented with it, the more I've really adopted a yin, go with the flow, we're all here to cooperate, let's all get along attitude. And I think that's the real dismantling of toxic patriarchy. It's not at the surface level of what appears to be your gender or your assigned gender at birth, but at a much deeper level of dismantling yang, forceful ways of being, dismantling seven-centered, I'm going to try to be the alpha primate, and I'm going to use my strategic mind to screw everybody over and steal these limited resources.
These people aren't thinking of that when they're doing that.
No, they're just deeply conditioned, or we're living in really what is a leftover of, what our previous evolutionary agenda was. I mean, we are evolved beings. We are now 9-centered beings. This is why so many people try to make human design compatible with really ancient traditions, and they're like, depends how ancient. Go back more than a few thousand years, maybe. We don't really know because we only have oral traditions. And this has come up much before, where maybe there were these lost wisdom traditions from 10,000 years ago, and we don't know.
So can I ask you a quick question though? 9-centered, you're talking like Pleiades soul star above the main 7?
Well, no. I mean, in human design, what we basically found is that, we've actually evolved out of 5-centered beings, and mammals are still predominant. I mean, they have a throat but no ajna, for instance, so they can speak, but they don't conceptualize time in a linear way and all of these things. And so what happens is you have evolutionary forms. I mean, human design is what we call it, but when Ra Uruhu had his encounter with the voice, which is what we're going to read comments from next, is people's reactions to his experience that brought human design into the world, which he always called an encounter, by the way. It's not channeling, it was an encounter.
What's his name again?
Ra Uruhu.
Yes.
And when Ra had his encounter, right,
Rahu.
Ra Uruhu, yeah, I mean, he was called Ra for many years before
right. Sun Ra, right?
Sun Ra was a jazz musician who had his own trip. Sun Ra was more into aliens, and I feel like Ra lived with the ghosts, and the fans of the show will know that reference. But anyway, no, I mean, my point is just when you have an encounter like that, that encounter, human design was a very small part of the encounter. It was one day of the 7-day encounter, and the rest of it was what he called cosmic fairy tales, which were effectively the story of everything from the Big Bang to the present day, the story of everything important anyway. And it was not only the story of everything important, it's the design of the single cell organism, it's the design of inanimate objects, it's the design. I mean, he was effectively given human design to help raise children. Really, it's not even for us. We're trying to get some value from it. How can I use it to benefit me in some way? It's not for that, and it's not even about benefit. It's not beneficial to the mind, because the mind is the leftover of the 7-centered being, which is really the killer monkey, which says, how do I become the apex predator? How do I get the resources? How do I compete against others for finite resources to become the supreme predator? It's very competitor culture and so on. I mean, you can see how there was a lot of cooperation, but it was mostly cooperation to compete. It was cooperation so we could all get together and go to war and beat those other people because they're not cooperating with us, seeing all these funny things that have happened throughout life stories. Well, what the voice told Ra was that that's not what we're here for anymore. We're 9-centered now. We're not here to go to war. We're not here to fight each other over limited resources. In fact, we have people who are right variable, like Rachel, who's quad right, who is here to really lead the way. Unlike, me, Teresa, Mike, you're kind of a mix, right? Or which ones do you have? Yeah. You have 2 right variable placements. DLL, PR. Yeah, so you're more in the... Yeah, so people who are... So, there's now this spread of consciousness, and what we're talking about even with the rise of autism in terms of neurodiversity and other forms of cognition that we're only just now learning about, that are emerging because we're now 9-centered. So effectively, the 7-centered being, I mean, people would always ask Ra, well, what's the difference? And this, he said, if you want to learn about the 7-centered being, there's 2,000 years of really good data on the 7-centered being. It's called yoga, it's called, the Vedas, it's called every different study. It's called Chinese medicine, TCM. I know a TCM practitioner who's like at the peak of TCM, who works with incredible TCM people. She has nothing to do with human design. She'll never have anything to do with human design. She's not even interested in human design. That's fine. She's a TCM person. She has mastered the 7-centered. It's okay. You know why? Because the 7-centered is still extremely relevant, because we still, in some sense, are living in the leftover of that. But every day that goes by, as we move further and further into the future, as the old breaks down, it becomes less relevant. And TCM becomes less, it doesn't work. It'll work on someone who's like a very left variable kind of leftover of the ancient. They're kind of here's the real trick is, at every point in time, a certain new form emerges, a certain new form of dietary regimen, a certain new form of environment, a new form of evolutionary stuff. Well, a new level. But the thing is, these new levels keep going, but the old ones stick around in some sense. And so there's more greasers now than there ever were in the 50s. There's more, punks now than there ever were in the 80s. Yeah. And there's
people give credibility to those old modalities, thinking, oh, it's been around this long.
Because it actually does work for some people. Yeah. I mean, it goes the other way too. We have new modalities like homeopathy. Homeopathy will not work for some people. It will never work for some people. Homeopaths hate to hear this. I've talked to a number of homeopaths who hate to hear it. They believe it'll work on 100% of people. Wow. And I tell tell them you probably at your best, or it's going to work on 50% of people. It'll work
That's
on.
ego, though, right? That's still.
They
ego.
want it to work for
Right,
everybody,
right.
you know, and they don't want
for
to.
them.
They don't want it to, and it works for them. And the thing is, it works for me. Homeopathy works amazingly for me. I have a homeopath. I'll give him a shout out. Richard Mann in Seattle, 76 years old, 77, incredible, brilliant homeopath. He's helped me so much. Well, it works for me because I have an undefined spleen, so I have an extremely sensitive immune system. I need very small amounts of a substance to really set me off. I mean, you know, someone who has a healthy, defined spleen like yourself, you know, you can just keep on trucking through a lot. You know, both of you, all three of you, actually. Everyone here but me. Jeez. No? Oh, yeah, you're like me. Yeah, we're in our little... Yeah, so I mean that's what it's funny for me to kind of you know, just that's really where human design excels, is in saying, hey, look, that might even work for half of the people out there, but it's not working for everyone. Okay, we are so different that some of us have dietary regimens that are not changed in any significant way from cavemen and cavewomen and cave people, and they have not significantly diverged, and we can't handle all this processed stuff. Others of us can handle it just fine. We have a dietary regimen that has other requirements that have emerged. So I just think it's a really beautiful kind of idea that, you know, it's not just the, oh geez, you know, let's have compassion for each other. It's let's actually, sure, compassion's good. Let's actually understand each other. Let's actually understand the mechanics here. And let's understand what the difference is between a projector and a generator, you know, because that is the path of the end.
That is what I was going to ask you. Can we all coexist? Is there the opportunity for everyone to do growth? Like, let's say the main woman who's totally only into homeopathic remedies, right?
Yeah.
She has a limited view because she's blocking something from her inner work, and she's not able to see and fully accept someone for their different viewpoint based on their own intuitive knowing and guidance. Because that's really what it is deep down.
Well,
right?
you have a defined spleen, and you also have the gate of intuition. So as we've already established, you have constant access to your intuition. I don't. So I don't have this compass. I mean, some of us...
You can grow that through your senses.
Well, I do have heightened senses, but my heightened senses are heightened because I'm following my sacral authority, which effectively means... You know, a good example would be someone who's a generator like me. They come to human design, and their whole life they've ate meat, or vice versa, and then they have a sacral response to the opposite, and they're shocked to find out that they actually don't want to eat the meat because their sacral is going, I don't want to eat it. Because the sacral response, again, is something in me that you don't have. I can never get a straight answer out of your sacral system, where for me, I don't do it with strangers, and I don't do it when the barista asks me a question, but I do it when I'm in an engaged flow and someone says, you want to go here? No, I don't want to go there. It's like an almost everything in my body tenses up and I stop. Sometimes I'll physically prevent. I mean, as an example, there was another projector at the conference who was trying to get Mike's attention when I was trying to introduce you, and I physically prevented her. That was a sacral response. I was sacral, nope, not going there, not going there. That's not going to happen. And my sacral system is my innate sort of physical. I mean, I have gate 34, activation line 3, machismo. That's going to come out as a display of power sometimes.
Yeah.
Other people don't have that. It's not correct for them to get in touch with their macho side. If I went and did a whole thing about how we need to get in touch with our personal power, well, yeah, that's because I'm in touch with my personal power because I have the gate of power
This
that
is
triple
what
activates.
I wanted to ask this question on, not to interrupt you fully,
No,
but
please,
just to
that's
kind
fine.
of stay where that is, because I have a visual, right?
Sure.
So I see it as like a little bit of like, once you understand this, right, you kind of have what maybe we would call a little bit of magic.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah, you get
because
a nice
you have
little
awareness
edge.
to be able to go into someone else's energy and block that. And so my question is, why isn't I feel as though there needs to be the question of permission before even going into someone else's space and connecting in with their energy, stopping their energy, coming in, taking, whatever it is, connecting in, reading without permission, right? When any of that comes in without permission, that is a violation.
And you're explaining the projector mechanism, and the funny thing is, it is physically impossible for me to violate someone in that way, whereas a projector can do it. I mean, I guess it's not, maybe someone has a projector channel. I shouldn't say that. Maybe someone's amped me up, and then with my projected channel, temporary projected channel, because all of us get like temporary access. I guess it is possible that if I were super amped up in my 4323, I would be like, you need to understand how it's structured, and you don't know, and or whatever, because it's a temporary transit. But generally speaking, because of my aura, even if I have a temporary transit that's making me act all extra and try to do that with somebody, my generator aura is going to like prevent me from doing it, because it's kind of like having kid gloves on. It's like having a bumper
because
car.
it's not your original power.
It's, well, my bumper, I have an aura that's a bumper car aura that people take in that aura. Now, what you're describing, though, is so perfect. First of all, you use the word awareness. Awareness exists in particular centers. You have splenic awareness, which is your authority, and having that splenic awareness, like Jen, gives you this incredible ability to be aware of so much that I might have or be able to tap into, like you're saying, and yet I can't trust it, because I can only really piggyback on your splenic awareness when I'm around you, and so your sense of danger might be accurate, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a funny idea, but the idea is that there's 36 channels, there's 64 gates, there's 9 centers, and it's all about go fish. And every time you meet someone, it's go fish. And I have these 20, and you have those 20, and some of ours are overlapping, and some aren't, and some connect, and some don't. But it's all about, do you have a 9? Oh, very nice. You have a 9. We can do this together. This is our thing that we have together. Oh, do you have a 44? We can do this together. And it's very much, and then as far as the permission aspect of it, well, consent is incredibly important. Mike did a great talk on consent. He talked about all the different kinds of consent, but like a great example would be consent for a generator. I was talking about how my kind of thing goes, really like hitting me up against the wall of that and being a little bit like bumping up against it. And then like bumping up against that and going, oh, okay, no. Here's where Jonah resists. And maybe in the past I betrayed myself and didn't resist because I wasn't living my design, and I had an undefined solar plexus. I go, I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'll go along with it, whatever. But now I have this like solidity within my sacral center that will literally just push back of an when it gets to that place where I don't feel comfortable. And meanwhile, if someone's like, can I do this? It's like, can I do this? Can I do this? And the is just flow, these yeses, and they will really flow without nervousness, without hesitation, in this sort of posy, sacral thing where my energy is now open to all of this. What's funny is, everyone's asking me stuff for the conference, and I was having so many sacral yeses. People are like, can I stay? Sure. Can I do this? Yeah. And I do have gate 29, the gate of saying yes, so it's very hard for me. Sometimes people get shocked if I do say no. But the fact of the matter is, I'm designed to be able to handle all those yeses, and I did. Yeah. I handled the commitment of my energy to a lot of people. I was committing my energy to 20 or 30 people. Now, that's correct for me. I have gate 34, which, it's correct for me sometimes to display my power. When someone says, when someone does something to violate the power, I had to ban someone from the conference too, So that's correct for me. Now, you having that undefined sacral. Well, it is discernment. You can be so discerning about who's using their power correctly and who isn't. You can be so discerning about who's committing their energy correctly and who isn't. So you meet one generator like me, and as a projector, if I invite you, if I give you consent, if you give me the read, if you use your splenic awareness and your intuition to read me, you can go, okay, you know what, Jonah's using his commitment correctly here, and he's displaying power in a good way here. But you know what, he really should not have displayed his power that way. And he's actually committed all this energy to stuff that he needs to update. That was correct a couple of years ago, but he hasn't, and you can kind of do all that with your splenic awareness if I invite you. This gets to the core generator projector
kind of thing.
Connection. Yeah, you two are going to have a completely different connection than either of you will have with me. Right, and that's a fundamental, is that, with me, like if I give you permission, and Jen's been very respectful. She's been staying at my house. She has not given me uninvited. She has the 1858. She has seen some things. She's seen behind the curtain, and when you see behind the curtain, it would be incredibly easy for her to rip me to shreds and be right about it, and be right. But there's rightness and there's correctness. A lot of times I can be right and it's not correct for me to do that to
who
someone.
would do that?
Exactly. Well, it can be. She's not. I'm just saying, the not self projector who's demanding recognition of look how good I am at telling you how many things you could improve. She could write a book on all the things that I could do to improve the conference. Now the fact is, I am absolutely hoping that, and is my desire for next year when we do the conference again, to ask Jen for advice. But I want to ask her then. I don't want to ask her now, because I'm not at the place where I have the energy commitment to even think about it. I'm saturated to my gills with the conference. And so because she's waiting, I know that she's sitting in all these little gemstones of all the things I can make better. And I'm going to, ask her when the time comes, but I don't want to ask now, because I'm already just like, oh my God, the conference was...
We're all processing.
It was a lot. It was really a lot.
That's amazing.
Well, I know that it is 2 o'clock. I know you're about to go. I'm going to read... Maybe I'll invite Mike in for this. We'll trade off.
I love his examples.
I don't need keys or anything.
Like, that helps me so much when you, give examples. I'm like, oh, okay, visual,
I'm glad. I'm so glad. Are you going to have a ride to meet Wolf?
No, I'm going to hang out.
Okay, but how are you getting to Mayo?
Probably take an Uber.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, and you're driving too, so maybe if it worked out, it might.
If she wants to go too.
If you might end up wanting to go to Mayo. Okay, cool. Then we'll keep going.
The museum. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
I don't know
later.
about that.
That's okay.
I'm not
Yeah,
feeling it.
it's okay. I mean, it's
I
a
think
it's
I
a
need
big.
to connect in with the nature and the Native American
God, that's-
preserve of
there's
the
a lot of
Monument
nature here.
Valley.
Take a little picture of this.
Mhm.
Well, what I want to
Okay.
do now, so that's a good first half.
I'm gonna be
Thank you all for the
moving
first
on.
half.
Thanks
We're
for
now going to
listening
do
to us.
reading comments. Oh yeah, you do yours. We'll take a short break, and then we're going to do reading comments from the YouTube.
I was just going to invite in a moment of meditation or mindfulness. So it was funny when I heard the sirens. My mother growing up would always say, or my parents would always say, like, say a prayer, someone's in distress. You know, so now I've adapted it to just hold my heart and just like send love. Whenever you hear the sirens, you just project the energy of love, right? And just like heal from whatever space.
Send it.
Yeah. So let's all just take a nice deep breath, soften through the belly, low belly, relax. See if you can just anchor into this moment. Maybe even just massage your neck just by moving your chin and oscillating side to side. Maybe even just gently turn and look over one shoulder and the other. Maybe you just feel your toes, spread open your toes, maybe wiggle your body, especially if you've been sitting a lot all day. Oh, just preface, just not doing a meditation while you're driving or operating heavy machinery. Let's take responsibility now. Okay, so you're grounding in your feet, tuning into your body, becoming aware, becoming present. And if you are driving, how can you be more present? Holding on to the wheel, looking out at your peripheral, being aware and awake, not in your head, fully present in that moment. So as you anchor in, you sit in, you feel your feet grounding in. If you're laying down, just start to feel all of your body dropping. So I just learned this new breathing from Abby from Body, Santa Fe. And it's this 3-part breathing, and you start with the first level is your low belly. Second level is like rib cage, middle. And then moving up to your heart center. Holding all. Pausing and then
Someone built up my towers. I thought that was delirious. I should have known when they were first.
Over Trip Tower?
Their tower,
Oh.
I built under the house fire, and it wouldn't let me sleep because it just kept saying.
just see if you can move a bit more of your body. Around your feet and anchoring into the earth. Relax in your shoulders. Face, jaw, eyes soften. Just grounding and listening, anchoring into your truth. Just listening to the sounds near and far away can all just be a part of your experience. It doesn't have to be this frustration because it's not completely quiet. It doesn't have to mean anything. You can just let it exist, coexist. And you stay in your center, you being you, me being me, knowing where I end and you begin, where you begin and where I end. Yes, we're all one in love, or we're holding our space, honoring it as our own and our truth and our power within ourselves, not outward projection. So just tuning into your breath, allowing yourself to fully relax. You're welcome to continue this meditation on your own, or end it here if you feel complete and grounded and anchored, listening to your body, your guidance, trusting yourself all along. much joy, love, radiance, and peace. I'm your host, Teresa Principally. Spend your moon day mindful moment in meditation. You can find me at #StoryGirl on Instagram or go onto my website, www.com, to learn more about my work. I'm also on Facebook. Sending you so much joy. Sorry, I'm on the road, so I don't have my medicine bowl to dong. Maybe I'll just om for you. Well, one listener's better than no listeners. Okay, so today is, yes, first guest, how would we intro him? Human design genius? The human design genius? Genius. Jen. Is it Jennncole?
Okay, well, with Mike return, here's Mike. Okay, should we do it in the actual alley? Is that a better? That's such a stylish.
The cars are gonna come.
But I mean, that would be kind of a fun.
My Instagram name is Joyful
DMTCY.
Projector.
Yes. Okay, so these are the YouTube comments
I go by the
from the
Joyful
Human Design
Projector.
Encounter with the Voice. This is really fun. You want to join in? You're on camera? Or
No, I'll just love to.
Okay. You can always comment off screen as the disembodied voice.
No, I like listening.
Okay.
But they like to see you, Mike.
That's okay. Yeah.
Just gonna absorb differently.
Oh, I mean, I
Yeah.
was only being playful. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay. So this one is just really funny. But it's more that I want you to be able to laugh at the jokes. I mean, you at least got to be able to hear them. So, I mean, because this is like comedy hour. This is like State of Human Design comedy hour. Okay. This particular one is one that I love so much. Let's wait for Mike now.
So what are they? Are they like
I think they're all
cutouts?
scared off.
Or are they
These are just
actual-
comments. These are comments in the
Okay.
video. So the video is Ra describing his encounter that led to the human design system. So he just talks
Cool, I
about
gotta
his
see this
mystical
thing.
encounter.
Okay.
He had an 8-day encounter with the voice. You can look it up on YouTube. It's Ra's encounter with the voice. And it's just funny because no matter, I mean, I used to have the same laughs when I wasn't in human design. I was just in astrology because I would laugh to myself thinking, I mean, because I still believe, like, for instance, Rick Tarnas is an amazing astrologer who does archetypal astrology looking at the outer planetary synodic cycles and the conjunctions. I think there's 9 of them, of Jupiter Uranus and Jupiter Saturn and, Jupiter Pluto and then Saturn Uranus and Saturn Pluto. And you kind of do all the permutations of the outer planets only, completely ignoring signs, completely ignoring everything, even just, I mean, he looks at what sign it's in, but ignoring like star sign, I should say. And he's been able to tell an incredible, brilliant story of the history, really, of humanity as told through the lens of astrology. And I remember, years ago, when he wrote Cosmos and Psyche in 2006, and he became the laughingstock of academia, because his previous book in 1992, so it took him that long to write it, his research. His previous book, 1992, was The Passion of the Western Mind, which was a college classic and on 2,000 college curriculums, and they were all stricken and all taken off when he came out as an astrologer. So I remember laughing to myself in the mid-late 2000s when I encountered that information, that literally the gold standard, this is something that Rick Tarnas even says, that the gold standard for just bullshit is astrology. And that most of the world, I mean, it's just funny, will say that you believe in astrology. They use it as the butt of jokes as a synonym for completely made up, that or snake oil. Those are the two. And, learning that human design and astrology also are real because they both
They're also what?
depend. Well, that just to learn that they're real because they both depend on, even though astrology may not have the right, more of a leftover of 1,000-year-old or even 5,000-year-old systems in some cases, harkening back to these extremely old and thus less relevant and less useful and more appropriate for when people were struggling to kill each other and defeat each other in battle or something. You know what I mean? So much of the older astrology, there's all these Hellenistic astrologers now who are like, which I love, Chris Brennan and people, but it's all like predictive astrology that was really from a time in history that was so different from us that we really have to give. I mean, everyone was left variable then. Everyone was quad left. If you're, that might be a little bit of a
changes too over time.
A vague. Pardon?
Wow.
Well,
over centuries, the whole charts changed like that.
Well, yeah, like every single person was quad left before 1781 because we didn't have rightness. The last time we had rightness was from the Neanderthal. In fact, as modern scientists are now discovering, in the late 80s and early 90s, Ra was already saying that the Neanderthal was peaceful and that we were the killer monkey that emerged as a 7-centered being, or not even we because we're 9-centered, but our ancestors, and in some sense us, because we were incarnated in 7-centered beings just as we were incarnated in 5-centered beings. What we call the personality crystal continues to incarnate life to life to life. So there is a progression, transmutation of souls, if you want to call it that, fancy ways to say it, or different versions of it. Well, in any case, I want to read, this is like funny hour, so this is going to be so good. So
but
check
I have a
this
quick
out.
question on
Sure.
that. I forgot to ask.
Well,
So have you heard about everything because of the whole, the polar shift, right? That the signs and the planets are actually not in alignment. So anybody who are doing readings and giving quote unquote predictions or alignments of someone's chart is actually off because there's been a shift. Have you heard that?
I mean, there's a lot of different versions. So there's this idea in human design that there's kind of a game of telephone where you're going to have versions. This is why it's hard to really say what's true or untrue. It's absolutely true that some people have given totally erroneous readings. Like there's this guy Richard Mason, for instance, who has attempted to do his own correction, which has led to it's irony. It's the definition of irony.
Yeah.
His own attempt to correct the issue of the alteration has kind of led to this whole system where a lot of things don't make sense. He's really a manifester, but he thinks he's a generator now, and all these things. There are videos on that, but I guess the short of it is there's kind of this. There is some truth to it, but like the game of telephone, you have to kind of follow it to the source. And when you really follow it to the source, what you find is, and you start to find the accuracy of it, like I can't be the source right now because I've drifted away from that, but when you really get to the source of things, you start to see that instead of just a vague soundbite of a vague thing, it starts to get really precise. Like I don't know the exact number, but someone will then say, okay, well every 25,762 years or something like that is a more precise number like that. Because it's not actually the polar shift, it's the wobble, it's the tilt of the Earth, and the tilt resets basically. It gets back to the same place every 26,000 years. Well, because of that, the stars are completely decoupled of what stars will be like directly overhead at a given point on Earth for a given point in the solar cycle, which is the annual cycle of 365.25 days. Because of that, so what that means is during the summer solstice, during the winter solstice, during all these different key annual events, there's going to be a different star slightly, right? It slightly changes. It's actually 1 degree every 72 years. So it's that slight. Like it takes, 2,000 years to go a sign or something like that. Now, there's about 15 different Ionsamas, as they call them, or Ionsamas. I forget, there's a name for it. There's a Sanskrit word for it, which is the amount of alteration to make. And it reminds me of this XKCD comic where the comic is, these people are going, this is a complete mess. There's 15 different standards out there. We have to fix this problem. Why are there 15 different versions, different formats, different standards? Let's do it. We're going to make one that's going to integrate, it's going to fix all these things. And thus the 16th standard was formed. And that's the way it works. And it's like, this is how, you know, and like that's what Richard Mason did. This guy Richard Mason came along with what he called true sidereal human design, spelled like sidereal. And his true sidereal human design, now he renamed it as cosmic sidereal human design because he believes it's more aligned with the cosmos. You know, what he ended up doing was creating a 16th one. Like, he tried to take one and it didn't work, and he just changed. So, I mean, everyone's free to do that. Like, in fact, I would actually say, statistically speaking, 1 in 5 people, about 20% of people who come to human design, they're gonna be base 4, and they're gonna be resistant to using anything anyone else has ever designed. Like, that's the real core key to it. There is, if you're base 4, you're designed to hate everyone else's design. And you know what's funny is Ra, who came up with this whole system. I mean, I say came up with, he formulated it from his encounter. He had an 8-day encounter, and then he formulated the system using his poetic mind, using his logical mind, using his, you know, innate splenic awareness, using all of these things. He structured the, you know, initiation of the awakening of so many through his life force energy, and it's incredible to see that. So, in any case, I want to read some of these comments. These are going to be so funny. Okay. So this is one that I really love, and you have to wait to the end to get to the best part.
But a really quick question on that. So, what if nobody ever tried to define it, and we all just were open to define it on our own, based on our own intuitive knowing? And maybe that's like, so.
Like, if we were all base 4s, you're saying. Well, because the thing is, so the base 4 people, about 1 in 5 people are going to be here to build and design and create their own system. And what's funny is Ra himself was base 4, which means if somebody brought him human design, he wouldn't have ever looked at it. He would have puked. He wouldn't have even taken a second thought, because his entire life he was here to play by nobody's rules but his own. And even him calling that base 4 and designing it is something that no other base 4 person can in their right mind accept, because it's his word for it. He said there's 5 different bases, and one of these is going to be the ones who can't accept other, you know.
Well, there's where the human
things.
comes in.
What's funny though, the base 4 is a form of cooperation. It is. There's what human design shows is there's Yang Yang, there's Yang Yin, there's Yin Yin, and there's Yin Yang. And 3 of these are forms of cooperation. 3 of them are forms of force. And that's what Yang and Yin are. Yang Yang is force in the service of force. It's force for the sake of force. When you get to the Yang Yin, that's what I am. I'm base 2. I am cooperation in the service of force. The Yang is fundamental, it's primary, it comes first. It's Yang Yin. So the Yang is what it's all about. In human design and Chinese, we always build up from the bottom going up. And so a Yang Yin is a bottom is Yang, and then the Yin is above it. And what that's saying is the Yin is in service of the Yang, or the Yang is, which is a weird idea because you think the Yang is supporting it. But in any case, it is this. It's saying we're all going to cooperate. This is like FDR. This is New Deal. We're all going to cooperate to do this together. Like, I led the Human Design Conference. Like, let's all cooperate for a purpose. When you get to base 3, this is let's all cooperate just to cooperate. Why are you even working on all that stuff together? We just have to get along. That's what it's all about. And that's another form of cooperation. Well, finally, when you get to the base 4, you say, well, yeah, let's cooperate. And they go, great. And you realize it's force in the service of cooperation. It's Yang in the service of Yin. And what does that give us? It's not till base 4 that we actually get war. Because that's force. We're going to force you to cooperate with us. You're not cooperating. You're not paying your taxes. You're not doing the things we say you have to do. So we're going to force you to cooperate with us. So what's interesting is of the 3 kinds of cooperation, there's optional cooperation to work together, like you choose to join or not, to work together for a common goal. Then there's cooperation simply to further cooperation and to continue make everything work together, because we really are learning about cooperation here, how to get along, how to collaborate just for the sake of cooperation. And then there's forced cooperation, and that's what design is. And those are the people who design our schools, they design, but here's what's funny, like, I'm both shake my fist at it, at the bad designs, but I also am so grateful, more than I've ever been grateful. I have undefined ego, so I don't have a lot of gratitude, you know, that's where the gratitude comes from, is the heart center. And when it does come, it's usually for Ra, for bringing the human design system into the world, which he was able to do through his incredible ability to design, which no matter how many lifetimes I get, you know, your base doesn't change life after life. He's always a designer in some sense, you know. And if you're base 4, you're always a designer, and you'll never really be able to accept human design, which is great, because you don't need to, because the base 4s who really get into human design come up with all their own names for things, come up with all their own original research. It's wonderful. That's what they're here to do. It's like they're here to design their own system where others can cooperate with them on that level. It's designing ways for others to cooperate. And so people design the school, and they say, you can come cooperate with us by sitting still and learning. Then another school comes along in the 60s and says, we're not going to be in the classroom, we're punks and we're mutants, we want, you can collaborate with us by coming and dropping acid and seeing what happens over here or whatever. But everyone has their design. I'm not a good designer, so I took designs from everyone else. I'm a bricolage designer, but I'm base 2, so in working on the conference, I kind of ornamented the conference. Then we had base 4 people who, I probably should have given the power to design the conference. We can talk about that. But at the same time, I had a base 4 person say, hey, I would have done this and this and this different for the conference. And I said, well, why don't you design one differently next year, and then you just do a couple days, and that'll be yours, and then I'll do a couple days or whatever that I do. Because I don't really know how to design. And, maybe it's something I can learn. It's great, but it's not something that I even, you know what I mean? It's like, I love the design in some sense. Like, I think we can all love every base, but I don't think, I'm not necessarily here where my deepest,
So if you didn't have that, if you didn't have your chart, right,
Yeah.
would you be able to make those decisions like that? Or do you find that knowing your chart and knowing it so deeply helps you with your decision-making process on an everyday basis?
The thing that helped me with my decision-making process was actually experiential, which gets back to our early conversation. You cannot force the experiential, but if you keep practicing the logic, you can get lucky and have the experience that changes you. So this really circles it back. The literal only thing that's helped with my decision-making process was that about 10 months into this human design experiment, years ago now, I had my own 7 or 8 day experience. It wasn't a mystical experience. It wasn't an encounter. It wasn't anything like that. It was an experience of effectively getting to live with the immediate feedback, like bumper cars, or like that game, that game Operator, where it goes, eh, eh, eh. I got that in my life. And everywhere I walked, it was like, eh, eh, eh. It was kind of like, it was like Morty got that in this episode of like Rick and Morty, where he sees his future and he has like his future death, and he sees that he'll have a really good one if he follows this one decision or not. And so he's like constantly like.
How many years ago was that?
It was 4 or 5 years ago. That was in 2016.
Was it your Saturn return?
No. I first encountered human design so much earlier, and it's so sad. I also hated that we don't get to choose our timing. I encountered it in 2006 and just blew it off. And I did not get it, and I did not catch it. It didn't do anything for me. It didn't do anything to me. It completely, like water off a duck's back. And it wasn't until 9 years later that I actually got it. It's because I met someone who gave me an in-person reading. So there was some aura contact. There was some aura transmission of like what it is to be in the experiment and what it is to be feel. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing. It is like a contagious thing. Well, okay. I will read this because it's a perfect segue, because this is about Ra's experience with the voice. Oh, I love it. You're going all out on this place. The chairs, it's beautiful. The chair, you just put a bed in there. It's looking really good. Okay, so this is just so funny. A YouTube comment. This is Laura Thomas. I see so many judgments in the comments. It is challenging to compute what the mind can't explain. The proof is in the power of the information transmitted. A fascinating exploration. This is a good one. This is great. You're going to laugh, not from her. She's great. A fascinating exploration. Watching this video of his attempts to put into words an experience for which there are no words. I appreciate the availability of this video. Thank you. Okay, now check this out. There's two comments that are so good. There's two comments that are so good, and then the punchline. Two comments that are so good, and then the punchline. Okay, first, to me, it's not whether or not the information is accurate.
Are these comments replies to the last comment?
Yeah, these are replies. This is the red pill. To me, it's not whether or not the information is accurate. Based on a 10-plus year experiment, I'd say it is. However, there's always been something unsettling that sat with me. I realize what it is. I think we all know. This is a 4323, watch out. We just block it out or justify it. It is obvious that the source is malefic, not benevolent. If you truly listen and ask your higher self for discernment, you will uncover the truth. Not an entity I want to follow, or I want to follow me. I mean, there are entities. This is not based to a color 2 person. So there's a whole science of encounter. People have alien encounters. People have angel encounters. People have demon encounters. They have entity encounters like this person. But we usually get the wrong encounter. Yes. We usually aren't equipped for that encounter. I made a joke earlier about ghosts, because with my particular configuration, the ghosts of my past and the ghosts of bad actions and the literal ghosts of dead people who weren't able to reunite and are now part of what we call rogue crystal bundles are part of my life. And I have this experience just like Ra did. And my assumption is that Uru, in his name Ra Uru Hu, was actually a ghost. That Uru was a little passenger that he got. But I know it's very esoteric and very mystical. in any case,
into it.
that's what I think. I don't really have evidence of that. But in any case, it's funny. So this next one though even amps it up, and then the punchline, So the next one, Falcon Britt. If a very bad man invites a child down a dark alley by offering the kid ice cream, the ice cream may be real sweet and yummy. He isn't lying. There is actually ice cream. But is it wise for the kid to go into the alley? This is an alley. This is an alley. I smell the stench of it behind the ice cream. Human design, right? Yeah. Having power and hidden knowledge is not an indicator of trustworthiness, of who to hand your life over to. And the punchline's coming up. You're going to love it. Okay. All systems of knowledge have underlying blah, blah, blah. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now this person's kind of rants about other stuff. Okay, and then from Coley the Practical Saint. I didn't notice, this is Lauren Thomas. This is tagging Lauren Thomas, the original poster. I didn't notice one judgment. Like, literally, this is the most recent comment. Like, these comments existed, like, unless they're just trying to be funny, but, I mean, literally, I'm going in the comments, and they're like, it's like sending kids down alleys for ice cream, or it's like, there's a malevolent source. Okay, the next one. Okay. Here's the next one. Mystical.
Book, I'm telling you. This
Mystical
whole series.
Pony. I love it. Okay, this will be fun. I haven't read this yet, so I'm just reading some new ones. Okay, Mystical Pony, 3 years ago. Despite the madness of this download, the system that this man synthesized is nothing but genius. Instead of going mystical and goo-goo gaga with this, he went mechanical and left the incredible gift for the ones who actually are brave enough to experiment and let the body do the job. There's nothing like this on this plane currently. Practical tools, however, very few are ready for this, and this will never go viral.
Cool.
Hell yeah, Mystical Pony. That one gives me hope for people. Yeah, that has 47 upvotes. That's good. Instead of going mystical and cuckoo gaga, he went mechanical. But also, calling Ra a genius, that's his projected channel. It's the channel of the freak or the genius. People are either calling him a freak or a genius. And he has a channel that we could.
I have that channel.
If you look at it, okay, right. So we can structure.
Familiar with that feeling.
Yeah, it's the feeling of I know or I don't know, and and you can do keynoting. If you look at Ra's chart, he has the channel of structuring, the channel of awakening, the channel of initiation, and what is his other one? Let's see. But it's like if you look at his keynotes, there's just this beautiful story of what he did in his life. I mean, he was a left angle cross of the clarion, so the clarion is literally. I mean, these are keynotes that he gave, so obviously he knew himself when he came up with these words, but some people also have a problem with the words that human design uses. Well, those people are base 4 invariably because they just don't want to use something someone else designed. I am so grateful that he gave words to these extremely specific themes, like absurdly specific, because that's what's so hard to do when you get to that level of precision of giving keynotes to 384 lines, and then you start going into the colors and you start going into the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really incredible. Yeah. Okay, here's the next comment. New Age stuff is created by Satanists. This is the truth. You think you're smart, but you are fooled by a Canadian man who changed his name to Ra Uruhu and says that he received a channeling during 8 days in Ibiza, full of drugs, mixing lots of astrology of Jewish I Ching and Zodiac.
Jewish I Ching?
Jewish, I think he means Kabbalah. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's a big scam. Listen to Zachary King for his full testimony.
Zachary King.
Okay. And then I see two of my friends and clients. Oh, this is great. One says, "This is very true. Humanity's not ready." This was in response to the person saying humanity's not ready. And then the other said, Eric. This is Eric Bergen said, "Well said." It was Zhu Heng had said, "This is very true." Maybe. Okay. It might be. Okay. Let's see. Let's find some good ones. How fortunate he was getting cracked open by his experience. This is Joyce, 4 months ago. He's got good stories to tell. Meanwhile, I'm just crazy, experiencing weird coincidences and unexplainable life events. Well, hang in there, Joyce. Don't worry about it. I mean, we all experience crazy things. Have you seen My Dinner with Andre? It's a great, it's not about what happens. It's about who you tell. So, no, but that's great. How fortunate he was getting cracked open. See, like people had all different reactions to this. That's what's nice. There really are a lot of different reactions. Okay, this is Kelvin. The voice gave me a mantra. The sun was my dog. Dog spelled backwards is God. Interesting fact. Dog is one of the few words with no definable etymology. In other words, a little mystery of its true origin. Coincidence, perhaps? I don't think so. Thank you for uploading this incredible video, riveting, profound, and a dialogue like a riddle for understanding life itself. Yeah, the camel and the dog is always a mysterious one. And then Ra loved to quote that poem, Heaven Sent or something like that. I was reading it yesterday. I've been looking up Ra trivia, so. Oh, we should do the Ra trivia night on State of Human Design.
Trivia night.
I have 25 questions for trivia night from
nice.
Sunday from the conference. We didn't get a chance to do them.
Cool.
And that would be really fun. Okay, Hanuman, 39. The issue I have with the story is the way he told it and how performed it came across. The experience also seemed menacing and invasive, which makes me wonder what the source of this information is. Human design is a pretty incredible vehicle for understanding the self, and it can do a lot of good. It's helped me. The mysterious origins and lack of clarity around the intelligence behind it makes me wonder about the agenda and intention. Wow.
I mean, yeah, it's a scary story.
I mean, the agenda and the intention is it's going against the 16 Godheads. So it's pretty much all of the personality. It's not that there's one personality agenda, it's that there's 16 of them. Why do you think we have war? They're all the 16 different ones fighting for supremacy against each other. This is the one agenda that goes against the 16 warring agendas, fighting for supremacy for the mind, like robbers fighting over their share of the steal, of the fortune of the treasure. Okay. This is What's in a Name from 2 years ago. This is my take on it. That's caps.
Oh.
The Holy Spirit speaks straight to the one who is willing. This information, human design system, is of such a vast epic scope, it cannot possibly be transferred to a brainwashed average civilian living in the suburbs. Parentheses, with all due respect. Like a house genie, the Holy Spirit is always looking for the most willing and suitable soul to transfer this vast body of knowledge to. No civilian could ever take on the craziness of spreading this knowledge, of knowing thyself. Think of it, really? Knowing thyself comes not from an average civilian. This person uses civilian, I wonder if they're ESL, maybe they're using civilian in an interesting way. Who has to keep up with the neighbors and has everything to lose. Yeah, they couldn't spread this information. So this guy, Ra Uru Hu, is the perfect guy to receive the required minimals. Really, the human design system is so thoroughly thought through. Damn, okay. You need to be tested and trialed to be found worthy a soul to spread this in the world. No ordinary soul could fulfill this task. This guy is pure authenticity, pure authentic.
Sounds like my Wi-Fi and all my information that I try and put across the internet.
Yeah. Just watch this artful level of storytelling. Response. New Age stuff is created by Satanists. Okay, no, okay. Oh no, that was the one we already read. Okay.
So he's saying it's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Through Ra.
Yeah. I mean, that's like that's compatible. I agree with what this person's saying. It's just in their words for it. They don't really. They're understanding it as a sort of masculine, typically personification of the personality principle. Ra is saying that it's the design principle. People don't necessarily know the difference in the two, and maybe the design principle is what is demonized and vilified by the personality principle. So, I mean, it makes sense that there's personality principle people saying, hey, you guys know there's some design principle stuff. This is the words they're using.
Form is like the oldest and most enduring devil we have.
Quote of the day: form is the most. And the first thing Mike has said: form is the most enduring, and the oldest and most enduring devil we have. Form is the. My license plate, pure form. Gotta be careful. Form is the oldest and most enduring devil we have. Oh. There's a response. The red pill responded to Richard Mason, but Richard Mason may have blocked me or something because I don't see Richard Mason's comment. But here's the red pill's response to Richard Mason's comment. Maybe I should sign out and see if I get Richard Mason. Okay.
Check out my phone.
Okay, yeah. See if you can find it. It's just Ra's encounter with the voice. Okay, here's the red pill from 1 year ago. Richard Mason. Nothing satanic? Are you kidding? I guess Richard Mason replied to Juan, who said this was made by Satanists. Then red pill. I guess Richard Mason said it's not satanic. Well, good on him. At least fight the good fight there. The red pill. Richard Mason. Nothing satanic. Are you kidding? The lamp was spinning. The dog fell like he'd been shot. The voice tells him to perform a ritual. He sets up his friend and then he throws him out in a puddle. Yeah, in a puddle of his own vomit. His friend went insane and said that Ra had stolen his personality crystal, but really I think his friend just transmitted guru. Right. It absolutely is evil. This is red pill. But oftentimes evil disguises itself as good. There was no disguise. It doesn't matter if the information is helpful or accurate. It's the source. This source is not benevolent. Ra is pretty clear. I'm going to thumbs down that comment, Red Pill. I just thumbs down your comment, thumbs downing Juan. Juan and Red Pill both get thumbs down. This is my review of theirs. What's in a name gets a thumbs up, but the Holy Spirit. Good work. That's your version of understanding it. That's okay. That's your vocabulary for it. You're describing it. You know. Here's Thomas Samoa. Thank you, Ra Uru Hu, to the beings who have brought this valuable information in, helping us to understand our true nature and using this information so that we can evolve into, hopefully, enlightened human beings. All right, thumbs up there. Enlightened selfishness, baby. Okay, Sujani Prem. He is amazing in all his legacy. Thank you for such interesting drive. That's a unique... G-Bo. This smells a lot like a psychedelic experience. What psychedelic experience can communicate is still very unknown, as far as I know, so who knows? Maybe he was in contact with something deeper under the influence. I know that feeling of deep insight, and it's amazing. Really like connecting with God. There was a expletive in there. Okay. Fucking amazing. Really like connecting with God. Okay, well, I mean, yes, and also Ra did like 5,000 psychedelic experiences, and you know, he did so many psychedelic experiences, and he went through this 7-year deconditioning process before his experience, preparing himself. Because the thing is, so many people, as Rick Strassman found, actually a New Mexico doctor, when he injected people with 400, you know, he had 80 or so people, and he injected with a total of 400 DMT doses.
Someone called him Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh my God, he does look like Jeremy Corbyn. No, Ra and Jeremy Corbyn, same type. You be the judge. But no, I mean, yeah, this one else said, this guy is such an Aries, I love it.
Yes.
Dane, thank you, Dane. But okay, but as far as the psychedelics go, you know, Ra had so many psychedelic experiences to prepare him. It's so different than when Rick Strassman injected people with DMT, where they had really intense psychedelic experiences and almost bar none had encounter. And sometimes encountered Bigfoot, sometimes encountered garden gnomes, sometimes encountered, you know, these cactus people, sometimes encountered insects, sometimes encountered 7-foot tall Swedish looking people from the Andromeda galaxy who told them they were sent to heal through Arcturians, you name it, Pleiadians. These things are all real in the same way dreams are real. The same way all encounter is real in the non-juxtaposition of Einsteinian relativity with the 5 bases. As soon as you get the juxtaposition of that, you have a certain level of reality that, I mean, it's, I guess I could say they're real maybe in the, they are real in the juxtaposition. They're not real in the Einsteinian sense. They're not real according to Einsteinian, because Einsteinian is not yet juxtaposed with the remaining 5 dimensions. Human design has 9 dimensions. We can go into this in juxtaposition theory sometime, because I want to do a rave physics, put on my rave physics hat, and get into that. But you know, encounter is something that happens during psychedelic experience, and also happens without psychedelic experience during what we would call schizophrenia, or encounters with madness, psychosis, psychotic breaks. And you know, encounter is not always there, but it sometimes is. An encounter is written about by Maurice Blanchot, where he wrote about his own madness in an insane asylum, or what they used to call a lunatic asylum or an insane asylum. What would now be called a mental institution, or just a psychological health, you know, practitioners and so on. And he talked about his encounter, and he'd had what felt to be a very real encounter. I mean, Ra's encounter was real. His encounter with the voice was really what his experience was, but it was not even experiential in the sense that we talk about the experiential abstract circuitry. It certainly had that component, but it was also, I mean, that's a visual experience. This was a primarily auditory experience. And it's not simply that he was hearing voices, but that his entire auditory field was changed. And what we've now found is that people who are having these kinds of experiences are actually sub-vocalizing. All of their voices are little tiny sub-vocalized sounds that they make. They're moving their tongue and they're moving their throat. And so if we track what their sub-vocalization is and have a computer translate it into English language or other language words, we discover that it's actually the exact same content word for word of what the voice said to them. So we can get somebody who's schizophrenic, who's hearing voices, to tell us what the voice says, and we can monitor that their own throat is producing those words.
Mm-hmm.
And so these people are effectively having an autonomous experience where their body is autonomously taken over, as it were, by the rogue crystal bundle. And it's the rogue crystal bundle only has enough energy to create a sub-vocalization, but it's able to connect it up somehow through the inner cells of the design crystals, which are now being filtered by this rogue crystal bundle. I mean, it's interesting to think about, that there are these encounters with other intelligences, so to speak, but they're not self-reflected intelligences. When Ra had his encounter with God, not the voice, but he had an encounter with what he would call God on ketamine, like the person in the comments saying they had some amazing encounters. God said, Ra said God smelled like compressed intelligence. God didn't have a visual appearance. God didn't have an acoustic experience. It wasn't an encounter in that sense. Encounter in the way Ra uses it is primarily acoustic, at least at the fifth color level. I guess it's a smell at the first color. So there are correlations. Like angels are smelled, and so on. Demons are tasted. You taste the demon. You get a taste in your mouth. The taste of sulfur, the taste of metal.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh. I'm not finding the comment.
It's okay. Undefined head ajna, I've already forgot about it. Don't know, don't care. That's the saving
Completely
grace.
open head is still going.
No, just let it go. I now love to cackle. I have a 64-6, which is cackling at confusion, and I now love to never know something. And sometimes it's very hard to never know. For instance, sometimes I think it would be better if I knew. I had a close friend who died, and I have no idea how she died, and I haven't pushed for that information. This was a number of years ago. Right? And I even know the person who knows how that happened. I haven't pushed that. I'll probably never know. Because why do I need to know? I don't have a head-defined heterojna. However, there was also someone I know who said she had a problem with someone else I know, but she didn't tell me who, and I wish she would have told me about that, because given the nature of the problem, I would like to know that information. But I'll never know. I have to let go of it, undefined spleen. And undefined ego, I don't want to prove how good I am at holding on to thinking about these things years later. So, okay, well, we're kind of winding down, but, yeah, so, hey, everyone, so this is from the account 01, 4 months ago. Hey, everyone, so in a spell book called The Peakatrix, they talk about making head extractions. My experience with drugs and also Pizzagate put 2 and 2 together and realized that the head boiled in oil is a crude extraction of DMT that localizes in the brain at time of death. The resulting oil, yada yada. Okay, this is too weird. I don't want this channel. But anyway, I theorized that his roommate was a practicing alchemist, hence roots and herbs, who dosed the whole house with his DMT lamp. Well, that's an interesting idea. He said that. But I mean, I don't think Ron needed a DMT lamp. I mean, he was dropping acid every week. I mean, he was going and talking for hours to the Swiss couple who would record everything he said. And, if you look at it into his life story around that time, he told everyone he was going to die the previous year. And he told them the exact day. It didn't happen, and he was ostracized. I mean, he was doing so many psychedelics. He was having such a weird experience anyway at that time. It makes more sense to me, not that somebody else dosed him with DMT, that it happened pretty much like he said.
Well, when did he make his fire as instructed by the voice and filled it with all kinds of herbs and things?
That was like the first day, I think, right? I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched it for a while. This is such a great... I wonder if this will just be on for 7 years and then it'll get taken down or something. It has 111,000 views. It was uploaded 6 years ago. I wonder how long it'll be on. I just love I see so many judgments in the comments, and then there's no judgments. There'll always be a contrarian, One of the things I love about Deleuze, the French philosopher, is he said that oftentimes someone will say nothing, pretending to say something, but what they're doing is performing the generalized function of negation. So, for instance, somebody who believes in chaos, there's no such thing, because all you really have is order. You have to give an example of order and then perform the generalized function of negation, which is pointing and saying no. It's not order. Same thing with nothingness. There's no such thing as nothingness. To imagine that something emerged out of nothing, there's no reason for it to. Something is the only thing that actually exists. Nothingness doesn't, And you can do this with anything where somebody is basically performing generalized negation. They're saying, no, there's nobody that's objecting. There's nobody that's disagreeing with you. I've had people do this about convincing me. I had an undefined ego say, no, I never try to convince anybody of anything. I'm not even trying to convince you of this right now. And I've had people do the same thing about beliefs. I don't believe anything. I say, well, you believe that you don't believe these things. No, I don't. I don't believe anything at all, including this belief. I don't have any beliefs. And these are invariably undefined ego people who are, all amped up and trying to prove something. Here's one, Nellie Manson. Nikola Tesla understood that information comes from the unified information field.
Okay.
Let's see. I do like that the person said this smells a lot like a psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
If people use the word smell or use their senses, I enjoy that. And then this guy is such an Aries, I love it. And then the next one, from Free Truth. As crazy as this sounds, I feel he's telling the truth. Factually, love is pain. And every single creation has its purpose, good or not. I don't know about the fact that love is pain. That sounds a little weird, but... okay, how do I get out of these? Every time I go into one, there we go. Okay, this is Deborah McCormick. What is normal? It is in the eye of the seer and the beholder. We all have mad moments. I was alone, not lonely. He is an empathic and can sense things around him easily, about people and himself. It's a gift he has. It's from an experience as a child, and his coping mechanism came into him and triggered his sixth sense about Ra. I wonder if she's talking about, everyone has childhood experiences, but when he was 15, someone close to him, I believe he was 15 anyway, died. And they were both taking psychedelics, and his friend died on the psychedelics, and it was a traumatic experience because he blamed himself for not protecting his friend and all this stuff. And at least that's what I've heard that story from him in one of his stories. Juliette Coach de Vive Quantique. Half of the people here have only listened to 40 minutes of this great interview, or have not heard the rest. They either have or have not heard the rest. Okay. Ignorance is bliss. Human design is so good. Well, yes, it is. I am grateful for Ra Uru Hu's amazing choking path. Oneness. I think shocking path. Shocking. Yeah, his amazing shocking path. It's so shocking. He was on the fifth line of the gate of shock. He was born on it. People are frightened of what they can't understand. Yeah, that's true. I just started to see that it got really boring and long. Yeah, okay. He says in his lectures, Encounters with Color, that it was demonic. I've listened to this at least 4 times, maybe more now. I can't believe I will still follow this path for years. Wow, this is Red Pill again. Red Pill's having a hard time. Red Pill's like, this is the path I have found. Like, Red Pill is like, life is what's Skyrim, and I've accidentally joined the wrong guild, but whoops, here's my player. Like, I guess I joined the vampires.
Diversify your pill intake.
Diversify your pill intake, Red Pill. You got to diversify your pill intake. Thank you, Mike. Try some rainbow pills. Okay. Here is when Ra said the encounter with the voice began. He was certain within a minute. Thank you for doing the work, Ra. R.I.P. And that's a link to the body graph. And I have it saved to mine. It's Ra's encounter with the body graph. It was like 6:15 p.m. January 3rd, 1987, or something like that. He was exact to the minute that it began. And it's really cool to see. The 4426 was active during that time, for instance. And there were some other interesting things that were like shock, and it was activating his, or maybe it was. Yeah, it was shock, and it was the something. I guess it was before that. His 42 is where he was called. His second line of gate 40, because I think that was his only second line. He only had 1 or 2. I think it's his only one, and that's where he was called because everyone. He kind of made it seem like if you didn't have a second line, it would be impossible for you to ever have that kind of experience, and also if you don't have any gates in the mystical way. That everyone who had mystical encounter had gates in the mystical way. So, I had an 8-day experience. It wasn't a mystical encounter. It wasn't a mystical experience. It was an 8-day experience, but I don't have the activated channels of the mystical way. Juliana Bennett, 4 weeks ago. Wow, the intensity of this video so completely rings with truth. Thank you. Hell yeah. Amber Scott. Wait, I think. Oh, okay. Hey, if you're watching, shout out. I think we know her. Damn, dude, this all happened to you sober? How ridiculously cool and freaky AF. I love that. That's so cute. That's so good. And then thanks, Ra, for your... I skipped... She said some other stuff, but... Oh, she says it's... Okay, this is good. Thank you, though. Human design is beyond amazing. Everyone has wished there was a manual for life, holding the mental construct of some external formula when all the time a highly specific personalized manual has existed for each person since human design came through. Thanks, Ra, for your contributions to us all. You left a mark that's only begun to touch the world. It's so true. And with the prayer hands. That's really, really sweet. I really like that. Great stuff, Amber. That was really good. Everyone's holding their mental construct of some homogenized external formula, one size fits all, when really we each have our own personalized instruction manual. So true. Here's Martin Hiska. Absolutely amazing. Should be nice to share more about voices, crystals, past lives, and everything. What goes through head at those times. I have voices all my life, but can't share to someone to understand me. I wish you could share. Make some videos, Martin. Make some videos, post some comments. Cynthia Agard. So scary. I would have died, but he was able to receive and do what he needed to do. The variation in humanity is exquisite. I'm just getting started, but I like what I see. It's helping. I wonder if he died fairly young, so maybe there is a physical toll required for some of us. So many paths. Blessings to you all. Yeah, physical toll. That's a really empathic way of looking at it. We're almost done. We're getting to the very end. My defined route is like, got to go, wrap it up, box. But I'm at the very end of the comments. Got a couple more. Literally what I'm experiencing in my daily life now, whether I analyze Maya, I have a question, but the answer is obviously here already. Okay, well, that was Coach Gnosis, I am that I am.
Okay.
We have Joshua Morrill. Revelation is as creative as the infinite. This I know, I understand. Thank you. Birth, Josh. Okay. Levi cosine astrology. Interesting story, full of archetypal twisters, like Indra or Jupiter striking him, a stirring within the collective unconscious. Something in him was conductive to attract that lightning bolt to hit him. A play of virtue within him? Okay, Margot Slosher. Love listening, thanks for sharing. Tammy Mount 7. It seems to me the highest master of dark and light decided that you were worthy of living in its love and knowledge in order to save the humans and elemental mineral plant kingdoms in this and all realms, not only to save from annihilation, but to assist in their healing and joyous birth into the new earth.
Whoa.
All right, Tammy Mount 7. Let's go. And then response, Jewel loves cats. No. Caps. This is all caps. No.
Wow.
And then Tammy Mount 7. Jewel loves cats. If Jewel loves cats. Okay, if human design isn't about helping us live better lives, then what is it about? Jewel loves cats. A money-making scheme, for heaven's sake. A man got this knowledge from an alien voice. How can people fall for this garbage? I tried. It was all stupid. Did not resonate. He also speaks as if he's on drugs, which he probably was. This is like Summer from Rick and Morty. Jewel, you gotta watch Rick and Morty. You are Summer. Okay. The man is nothing but a scammer. Okay. This is great. Okay, Johnny Barker. We're almost done here. Classic case of spontaneous kundalini. Bravo for attempting to put these experiences into words. And of course, the impossibility of ever being able to articulate individual processes.
Classic case.
Truly a classic case. What?
Madness is, I guess, the ultimate sanity. Totally believed in his process and the ramifications it might have for this evolving soul consciousness.
Classic case.
Red pill. Ramifications is a good word for this. Disturbing is the best one I can think of to describe it. To me, it's not whether or not the information is accurate. Based on a 10-plus year experiment, I'd say it is. However, there's always been something unsettling. Wait, he just the same one. He's like reposted this one 3 times. I've been skipping this one when I see it. He's like he's like a copy paste.
No.
He's made a copy paste. Hanuman. I agree about not wanting to follow or revere this entity intelligence. It definitely comes across malicious, but you have to consider Ra and what he brings to the table. He admits he was considered an unfriendly and unlikable person by the people in this town. He says he's a cynic and felt mad during this time of his deconstruction of self. The non-three-dimensional intelligence that shared the information with Ra could be benevolent, but that is, it recognized a willing vehicle for the information. Ra's dramatic telling and interpretation of his experience is his side of it. Chris Anthony.
Wow, that measured judgment from Hanuman.
Good work, Hanuman. All right. Chris Anthony. Yeah, Chris, totally. Chris Anthony, Hanuman. I like how you finished it with, that was his interpretation of it. I had an encounter about 10 years ago that just seemed very disturbing to me, but that was my interpretation of it. And then he goes on about it. Darkness begets darkness. Okay. All right. Ray, thanks for sharing that poem. Heart. Yeah. If people don't know the poem I'm talking about, it's good. Well, we're just finishing up. Teresa, thanks for coming back. We're about to be done. We have like 3 more left. Thanks for sharing that poem. For people who don't know, I think there's 2 poems, but they're probably talking about Chase the Laughter.
The scary one?
Faster, Chase the Laughter. Well, they're both good. But the one where he goes, I mean, I don't know it. I should know it by now. But Chase the Laughter, faster. And then someone wrote here, Mecha Gojira Gamer 1 year ago wrote, Chase the Laughter would make a great rap song.
I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I was in a projector mode. I was like, must
Did you
move.
get it though, Mike?
Huh?
Chase the Raptor. So Mecha Gojiro Gamer says, Chase the Raptor would make a great rap song. Okay. And then the red pill responds again. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
He starts by explaining he was mad. Okay. We don't need to read the rest of this one. All right. Well, let's get a little further down. We have, who knows the lyrics of the song, All Along the Fall? I don't know that one. Okay. Anna Drozdova, truly fascinating. I enjoyed watching this. Thank you for sharing the video. And then we have, here's 1 week ago, we have username Ra. I am Ra. Uh-oh. Will the real Ra please stand up? Rejoice in the love/light of the one infinite creator. Adonai. Well, that's
Sounds
nice.
just like
Seems a little off.
Yeah. Well, there's a binary, right? There's got to be two Ra's. Everything in this world's a binary. There's this Ra and that Ra. There's Ra who says, I am Ra. Not this guy.
Is that where the Ra Sishkumbar came from?
With where Ra came...
Shishkumbar, isn't it?
I haven't heard
No,
that.
Ra Shishkumbar.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. I want like a Shishkumbar shirt that just has like two pictures
Did I
of
say
Ra.
that right? Shishkumbar.
I don't
always get
know.
that
I've never
second
heard it
Yeah,
before.
never heard that.
Not
But my friend my friend Johnny likes to say rah rah roo roo when he's talking about rah rah roo roo. He goes, is that a rah rah roo roo quote? He loves to say that.
What if
Okay.
it's like Ra System Ba? System Boo.
Oh, Tia Unique. Definitely a bit crazy. Definitely an Aries. Reminds me of my grandma so much. Was your grandma line 5 on the Gate of Shock? I know a lot of
Can't wait
I
to
know a lot of
watch
Gate of
this.
Shock people. I have Gate 25, so I'm opposite the Gate of Shock, so I'm always getting shocked by them. Here's June Dowling.
I know a quote
Yep.
from Jean Shinoda Bowen, the Jungian therapist / Taoist. She said, it takes a very special kind of man to become a crone.
Jean Shinoda Bolin. It takes a very special kind of man to become a crone.
Yeah.
That's great. Are you saying Ra was a crone?
I think he's got crone energy.
Okay, maybe that's interesting. Ra, this is a topic for the next State of Human Design.
Well, just that
Ra?
person was
Crone
like,
energy?
reminds me of my grandma.
Oh, reminds me of my grandma. Well, and also Ra said that the voice was like a 150-year-old woman who chain smoked cigars. You know,
Right.
so he did personify his experience with this encounter. You know, as a feminine grandma energy, and you know, Pluto, of course, is kind of I think what he associated with Grandma Pluto. So that was Ra's personal association. June Dowling, thank you. What a beautiful soul. One reply from the Red Pill. A beautiful soul? What he explains is his experiences with evil, and he went with it. Okay, never mind. Okay, Deborah McCormick. Finding the answer is what we all seek. Sally Schwartz. Amazing information. Please look at the whole video. Can wait to begin my journey to learn everything from human design. I think she meant can't wait, but that's a really cute strategy and authority joke. Can wait to
Yeah.
begin my journey. I can wait because it's all about waiting to respond, waiting for the
Wow.
invitation. We have like 3 more. Calvin Johnson, thanks for the upload. Nicholas Lundgren, how beautiful. I like to give shout outs because then if they see my...
It's fun too. It just
It's
gives
really
a
fun to get little
notice.
shout-outs.
People
People like
to
it.
Be, you know, they want to be heard.
I love him. Me too. Agnes says, okay. Rika Ko, amazing. Thank you. Faithful philosopher. Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Tia Tazan. This is only one madman's tale. I will entertain my own voyage and keep an open mind.
That's nice.
All right. Thumbs
I
up
like
for that.
That's
Thanks.
good.
Thanks.
You've done your homework.
Rosella Caccioli. Ra Uru Hu. R equals Robert. A equals Alan. U equals you. R equals R. U equals you.
What?
You are you. Ra,
Okay.
you are you. Who equals who.
Who?
He was really a master with words and an aspiring actor.
Damn.
So Uru is you are you.
I like that.
You,
So if we begin to name you, Uru, he's like, what do I name this ghost? You are you.
That's great.
And then Susanna Grover says, who is also a name of the divine? The Red Pill, Ra, the Red Pill, back again. Ra was an early Mesopotamian sun god. Okay. Ra Uruhu's talked about being godlike. Definitely liked the attention and superiority. I already thumbs down to that one. And then Mindflow 777 at the Red Pill. Wrong. Nice. Lowercase L. Loved it. Thanks. Eka Burger. Fascinating. Flair for Crafts. Reminds me in a way of the Metamorphosis by Kafka. It is. He talks about how all the water in his body left, which isn't in Kafka, but he talks about like being then paralyzed and being unable to move without excruciating pain unless he did exactly what this voice told him, which was like, grab the pen, like write this down, like you're gonna need this stuff later, like all this stuff. Okay, anyone else having intense physical reactions while listening? It's Julia. My solar plexus. Oh my God, soda plexus. That's so cute. She called it her soda plexus. The soda plexus. My solar plexus is going crazy. My entire body is shaking. I've been experimenting with HD for a year now. That's what happened to me. 2-4 splenic projector here. Yeah, it happens different ways to different people. But Sasha, is this the work of jinns? No reply. But that was only 18 hours ago. Should we reply? That was only 18 hours ago. I won't. There's no really. Okay, there's a couple requests for a song. The second request, what's the name of the song, please, in 52 minutes? I think it's probably a song he wrote. It's probably from, the only one I know is the Dog Queen's Penta, but I have the other album too. It's probably just, Ra loved to play music, he loved to play guitar. Adina Brody, thank you, Ra, I love you and believe you. Wish to meet you. Oh, she doesn't know, he's not alive anymore. That's sad. Ivan Sferos, hello, very interested in this knowledge. The author mentioned that was conducted by an independent research institute in California. Can you give a link to the publication? I unfortunately have not found. It is not logical if this is not noticed in the scientific world, especially after independent research. Oh, this is a good one. Kia Michelle, this is so early 90s. Tanny Mount 7 again, thank you, you're beautiful. Luca Barsadi, he never searches for the eyes of the viewers. And then Atosa Gastrapor. A lot of manifestors seem like this, surveying their inner voice perhaps. Well, he had outer vision. Another username Chase the Laughter asks, what's the name of the song right after Ra finishes the story, around 50 minutes? People want this song. Oh, here we go. Jay Brown. It's called All Along the Fall. It's a track on his album, The Dog Queen's Penta. You can get it on Jovian. There we go. Donald Clark, you're still crazy, mate. 3 months ago. Sybil Elsner, thank you for sharing. Coley the Practical Saint, whoa, dude, and then a bunch of emoji like exploding head and laughing, and then prayers.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good one.
NJ Howell, I have heard of this blue neon light before. The voice appeared as a light at first. Okay.
Have you ever thought to? This is just a sidebar, but it would be so fascinating for you to do just a module in these more modern schools, like a Waldorf school where they're more open-minded, and you just go in and you start to begin to understand what human design is. That's only one, but we get to show them all the different types of possibilities. Maybe we start to talk about astrology, even, you know what I'm saying? It's there's no hierarchy reign of this is the way, right?
Yeah,
but
it's
if we just get
self-selecting.
modules,
A lot of people are going to totally self-select. Also, because there's a lot of things that are more clubs, which people really self-select into kind of their tribe. They find their tribe. And some people are really uncomfortable with human design. We found that with which by the way, later tonight we're doing Human Design Catalyst. Really excited for that. Which you're welcome to join for. It's at 6:30 at Jenny's house. I sent the address. But in any case, people have come and they've come and gone because they don't like it. But it's fine,
But if they have to flavor, it's okay to taste, and if you, it's
that's totally fine to taste. I'm a taste person.
A lot of people like different flavors of ice cream, right?
Absolutely.
It's just not your flavor, and that's
oh
okay,
yeah.
right?
And some people, right? Go find your taste. That's.
And I'm sure there's a definition of why in human design why that actually happens, right?
Or just the fact that each of us have different designs. That we're so exactly some of us are going to be. And also really fractal lines. Some of us, it's a weirder idea, but some of us are closer to the mutative edge. Like when I was saying earlier about how there's more greasers now than there were in the 50s, and there's more punks than the 80s. Well, some of us were the greasers in the 50s. We're not the greasers anymore. And then the people who are further down the fractal line get to be the greasers now. See what I'm saying? The people that are really at the mutative core, and it sounds kind of elitist, and Mike always has a problem, or used to, maybe now he's coming around to it as his optimism is deflated as he goes more on the roof, but Mike used to have a problem with this sort of hierarchy that I would say, because I would say at any given point in time, there is a most mutative, and if you were in ancient Greece, it was, Plato and Socrates, and if you were in China, it was the people writing, the first, at any point in time, the people inventing algebra, whoever it was, and in whichever culture it was, there's a mutative group of mutants, and they are insiders, and there are outsiders, and the outsiders get to be the ones they taught. and then they get to be the new insiders for their life, and then the new people get to be the outsiders, and so on. And what's happening is the people who are now the 10th generation, the 15th generation, the 20th generation are quite literally getting to live out a lifestyle that emerged as the latest, greatest, most mutative, most evolutionarily cutting edge hundreds of years ago. And human design is the mutative one. It's not that they're all equally mutative. They're all equally valid, and some people aren't that mutative, and some people, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't want to do the radical experiment that what it is
They're
to
just
actually,
not in here
they're just
for
not
that
into
time
it. They're
yet.
not in that.
They're
not
not
here
in
for
that phase of their life.
Exactly.
That
They're here. That's why AA will
dimension.
always be valuable. I'm not against AA. AA helps people so
paradigm.
much.
It's all multiple
But AA is not,
paradigms.
AA
in
is
one
not going to help somebody who is at, you know, they can only take you as far as they've gone. And Jung
That's
also
the
said
key
this,
one.
that, you
Yeah.
know, that Freudian psychoanalysis might be perfect for somebody who's having problems adjusting to culture, society. For young life, where they're having all these difficulties with adjustment, their real thing is, how do I get along with other people? Well, they're going to teach you how to get along. But a Freudian psychoanalyst isn't going to help you with the spiritual question. It's not going to help you with the deeper questions of life. I like the way Jason Hawley puts it. He's a brilliant, I give a shout out to Jason Hawley. Look him up on YouTube, Holley. Brilliant 3-5 generator. I'm trying to remember his chart. Really cool dude. And he's an astrologer, kind of evolutionary / archetypal / doing his own thing. He's really singular and unique. If I had to call him anything, it would be a Hillmanian, like a James Hillman. But even in his own way, he kind of rejects. He thinks Victarnus is boring. You know, he rejects like the Jungians for being kind of stodgy and uptight. Anyway, he has this thing that he's taken from one of the Jungians, where the guy talked about day world, night world, and twilight. And he says the day world is what you all start with. It's just the world of getting up and going to work and making money and having relationships and having like just being able to function, just straight up function in the world. Well, a lot of people out there in the world, they're experiencing homelessness, they're experiencing drug addiction, they're experiencing so many problems, spousal abuse, whatever, domestic violence. They can't have a day world life. Their struggle is to have the day world life. It is rude to give that person a Jungian book and say, look inside and find your inner truth. You know, they're not having that problem. But then you have rich people who have grown up with ennui, who have been protected and sheltered, who don't have the day world problems at all. They're perfectly established in the day world. They have night world problems. They might even literally have night world problems for not being able to sleep. But I mean, at any case, they have symbolic night world problems in the sense that their life is boring and empty and vapid, and they need to find something deeper. You can't build that until you have the day world handled.
Yes.
But then, even then, you go even deeper where, you know, Jason Hawley's like, I don't even want to be in that night world, because that's the people screaming into the pillow and going to the darkest, deepest places. And he's like, I want to be in the twilight. That's where the magic happens. The freedom to be able to go to that deep, dark place, but then the freedom to not take it that seriously and go back to lightness, and the ability to bring it back to the sort of day world of living a mundane life on the surface and just having your kind of mundane, you're not just craving the intensity of the night world all the time, because that can also destroy you. Being in, you know, if you're not equipped for it. Some people are equipped to live the night world.
When you say the night world, right?
The real, the juicy, the pain, the
Like,
trauma.
do you think that, are we saying that people are going on like medicinals and going to the dark night of the soul to like?
It could be anything, but I guess I'm just saying, like, we all have these phases of needing to go in that dark night of the soul, but we also have to acknowledge, I think, for Jason Hawley's side of it,
Foundation
that there
first.
are, well, he's a twilight person because he's such a trickster. He believes, he has his own kind of trickster energy that he's also an ENFP in personality typology. He's like a Robin Williams. Like, his most doppelganger is Robin Williams. And I think for him, if I had to analyze Jason Hawley for a moment, I would say that his fundamental thing is I have to keep all my options open. So that's why he loves the twilight. I would put it a different way to say that some people are great at, 54-32s are great oftentimes, the channel of material transformation, at helping people with the day world stuff. They have somebody who's maybe is experiencing homelessness and help him get a home, get a key, as Vaughn would put it. He doesn't say homeless, he says keylessness. Because home, you can have your home anywhere, but having a key, people who don't have, they're experiencing keylessness.
But if everybody had, most people that are having these experiences come from trauma.
Absolutely, and the
Right.
trauma requires going into the night world.
Yes.
So you're absolutely, I see what you're getting at, where you can't just say you have to be in one or the other, and they're both so important. I think twilight for Jason is not even a mixing or a loss of either of them. It's cultivating his sort of ideal state where the first thing you have to do, which may include the trauma and night work, but the first thing you have to do is sort of work on the day world problem. You can't do your trauma work if you're being re-traumatized every day. You can't do
Exactly,
trauma work if
exactly.
you're in a traumatic situation like living on the street
Totally.
where you're having violence perpetrated against you.
And that's support from community.
Exactly. So the
Yes.
first thing you do is you create the day world thing of let's just at least, and then, you're right though, people aren't ready to go into a workforce. Well, if you're a projector,
No.
P.S. never go into a workforce. But say you're a generator or
Wish I
something.
knew that freaking 10 years ago. Damn it.
But say you're a generator and you
Ugh.
are here to work, if you're experiencing all this trauma and you don't have the day world stuff, you need to have, a place where you can sleep without fear of constantly being alert. I mean, it does something to have all that cortisol in your brain,
This is like
having
some
the
of the
fear
work
that
I want
someone's
to do.
gonna.
I want to make enough
Yeah.
money to provide that foundation, but they have to come to an agreement to do the inner work. They can choose whatever medicine in whatever way they want, but they have to continue in for a series of time and program in order to be able to receive that gift, right?
Sounds like you might be base 4. You might be a designer. It sounds like you might even have the gift of designing a system where people can cooperate, and if they cooperate, they get a great benefit. Pretty cool stuff. I mean, no, I'm being serious here. Like base 4. Like I have a friend who did. I don't know if he's not base 4, but like you can make a huge impact by simply changing the system. Like here's the thing. Like if I tried, I'm not a base 4 person, so if I try to help someone experiencing homelessness, my version of that is like letting them crash on my couch. That's not changing the system.
Feeding.
You actually can change the system. And I would say this to anybody who's getting into base theory. People have been watching my base theory talks. If you find out you're base 4, you are the ones who have the power to design new alternate systems. If people adopt those systems, they appreciate those systems, they start to use them. I don't know if he's base 4, but I have a friend who got sock donations all over Seattle for this thing called We Count. And it was all about everyone counts, we get socks. And it was a little thing, but it worked. He made little hubs on all the corners, and people would leave their fresh socks and donate. I mean, it was really a cool thing. Really a cool
That
thing.
is cool.
Well, we are going to wrap this up because we actually have to record tonight. I want to do this 2 comments that were really interesting that stood out to me. Rosella Caccioli pointed out, just for those who have watched the Encounter with the Voice video, that the Mexican earthquake was 1985, September 19th, not December of 86. She writes, so many questions in this video. Is he a big actor? For sure. In his first theater arts student year when he was 20, he wrote a play which took place from October 30th to November 2nd in his university theater. She has some interesting information on him. This is really cool. So I mean, I just am interested in that because he talks about an earthquake during which there was a design crystal. There was a mother with a baby trapped underground for a week during this earthquake, and she was taken out from this by this guy who rescued her, and that was part of his story, that the friend of his who was visiting this Mexico City, I guess, where the earthquake was, or in Mexico anyway. I'm not exactly sure. I have to do my first line research on this.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting thing. I think that is Uru, is the ghost that was
What
brought.
happened?
Well, I don't know the full details
That's
other than she
interesting.
was I think she was stuck underground for a week and may have had a miscarriage, and the personality crystal that was brought in, that she had brought in, was then a ghost crystal that was then transported by his friend who was a tourist into him, effectively. It was the voice's way of delivering him a helper, because he couldn't do the Rei Ching on his own. He couldn't do all the stuff on his own. He needed something
Wild.
that the voice sent him to kind of stay with him as a little floating light, and also as
Personality crystal.
basically a second crystal of consciousness, you could say, that was like if you could call it just like a passenger, like another passenger hopped on his ride.
Disincarnate person.
A disincarnate person, yeah. I really love the depiction of it or what I think of as the depiction of it from David Lynch's Twin Peaks: The Return, where when Dale Cooper comes back, he has this light that shows him exactly what thing to
my
go to get the
gosh,
money. He has the
yes.
light that lights up exactly what to
Yes.
point to. He has the light that shows him exactly where to get to survive so he isn't killed. As a fool, this light guides him through the correct decisions and every correct decision he could ever make. Now that can work as a metaphor for a lot of things. It can work for a metaphor for strategy and authority, for your spleen, for sacral response,
your
for
inner
emotional
work.
clarity, for inner work. But it can also work as a metaphor for what literally may have happened with Ra, where he actually got this passenger.
Wow.
Teresa Lynn Hasan-Carr says, don't watch this and eat. That's her advice. Well, Ra advised to eat while you take in logic in particular, or eat while you're learning and taking things in. I do think eating while you're taking an experience is a little different. Because, if you are going to eat while you take an experience, make it experience appropriate. I love doing Blood Wedding, a play written in the 1920s in Spain. What's better than paella and Spanish wine while
Conscious
you
eating.
watch Blood
Conscious
Wedding?
eating versus unconscious eating, emotional eating, just to
Exactly.
fill in the space that you can't figure out.
Right. And
Yeah.
also that when you're taking things in, it can be deepened, particularly logic, by the consumption of calories, because it's almost as if the cells in that take in the imprint of the information that you're taking and then take it in a deeper way. Rob often advised people to eat while they were listening to his lectures or while they were learning anything new. And that the eating itself, while you're in that
Another
state
sense.
of learning,
Right,
That's
is
how I've
like
been doing
like
it.
the cells are being imprinted with eating, with the food you're eating, and then that
Yes.
cells are going in your body. You know, if you watch a lot of
Digesting.
violent TV or something while you're eating, maybe it's taking in all that violence, who knows. So,
Maybe she's just squeamish.
well,
Can't handle the
I have the gate
explanation
of
of the
blood.
physical.
I have gate 25, so I see the blood all the time. I have the gate of blood. Ian Mack, watch it at 1.25 speed playback. Quacky, how and why? Sorry, Quacky, nobody ever answered that. I can't do it either. I can't answer it. Nobody. I almost did. Okay. Electromagnetic. This guy was a really good actor. That's true. Matthias Steinberg. Ra Uruhu is back in black. Junpo equals black. Black is the new orange. Yellow is the new orange. Integral human design for the win. Keep integrating. These are like notes on the wall. This is like scribbles on the wall of the alley of the internet. Hidden goddess 7 months ago. I am a master of the Maya, she quotes. I guess Ross said he was a master of the Maya. I don't think he said that.
Okay.
Car coming.
Cool story, bro, says Eternal. Jedi's M. Sobald mentioned for... Oh, yeah, that's... Okay, never mind. Okay. Raya Petrova. Sounds like he interacted with demons or something. If you learn human design, you will understand which lines can't accept the info, especially the profiles 1, 3, or the second line. I don't know about that. Mike's the second line. He takes info. But the 1, 3s... No, I'm joking. No, the 1, 3s are here to learn. It just takes them 20 years to trust it. But she had some replies. Lisa Marie. Why? She replied... This is someone with a Russian name. Looks like Tatra. Because it's their design. The first line always fights. They mostly reject other people's ideas in general. The second line rejects the information from people who are not their confidants. That's not true. That's the 2-4, and that's not about... come on, okay. This is the game of telephone. It's like somebody says, don't sleep alone, and then by the end of it, it's like, sleep alone if you're... That's on Tuesday. Okay, Katie Blakesley. My numerology chart seems years ago. Wow. Yeah, that's actually a great comment. You come to human design, you're like, my numerology chart seems like so long ago. My introduction, my little baby step into life path analysis. That's really a good one. Good comment, Kat. Katis Kablamski. I guess the proof is in the... Kablamski. This person's name is Katis Kablamski. I guess the proof is in the pudding. Human design, as I've witnessed so far, is helping people live amazing lives.
Choosh.
Yeah. He's also, remember, he's a manifester in human design, and 90% of people are going to find it harder to understand him where he's coming from. No faces. So where can I get some of the herbs with a lot of H's? Herbs. Nice one, no face. Thumbs up.
Were those the ones you wanted to read?
No, I know we're about done. I was trying to get to the end. I want to read all of them.
What? Aren't there
We're almost
very
done.
many?
No. this is almost
206
done.
comments.
No, it's not true. Okay, well, I'll scroll through. There's some more repeats. I think we're good.
Would you say...
Okay, we made it to the end. The last one was Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, then wait, the one before that is Bob from Twin Peaks. It's gotta be. No, maybe not. No, they gotta be saying Bob because his name was Alan Robert and his mom wanted another Bob. Okay, anyway.
Oh, he's not Bob. He's not a Bob.
Not a Bob. All right. Thanks for watching all. Till next time, which might be very soon.